Welcome back at 9:21. We are talking with Kristen Getzlaff from Inspired Life Wellness Clinic about suicide, and now we're going to go through some of the, I think, common misconceptions about suicide. And this is an important topic, things to remember, that suicide is not logical. What do you mean by that?
Right. People who are on the outside often want to say to people who are having these deep, dark thoughts, and give them all the logical reasons why they shouldn't. And that's fine, and they need to hear that. But depression isn't logical. People who are that severely depressed don't think what we would consider logically on the outside. You know, I don't want to say normal, because what's normal? But they have these thoughts that they're never going to be any better, that they're a horrible person, that they deserve this. There's all these thoughts that go into that.
And the people surrounding them are, why don't you just get over it?
Exactly.
Just get over it.
Another one that I hear a lot, and it's the second one on our list, that's such a selfish thing to do. You know, if someone attempts it or even carries out a suicide, well, that was just selfish, wasn't it?
Right. And part of that is people fear it so much, rightly so, but we want to say anything to get that other person to not do it. And so it's
You're guilting them?
that it's part of it. But when you're in that situation with somebody who's thinking that, you say whatever you can or
Wow,
to get them to
talk
stop.
about an inappropriate thing to say
And
to
that's
someone who's contemplating suicide. You
that's
try to guilt them?
That's exactly why it's on the list.
Wow.
Because, okay, so now you're telling them that they're selfish. It's just one more blow to their self-esteem. Okay, yeah. So that's why we don't want to say that.
Sure. And what about giving in or giving up? If people, the misconception is that, well, they just gave up.
Right, and that's so far from the truth. People actually, when they've made that decision to attempt suicide, that's actually a choice that they made. And a lot of people feel actually better when they make that choice, which isn't a good thing. You know, that's why it's such a serious situation. So it actually takes that strength and that courage to make that choice. We want people to know that there are other choices.
It's not the only option.
It is not the only option.
Yeah. Next on the list, there's nothing romantic or funny about this. I mean, Romeo and Juliet aside, okay, there's
Right.
nothing romantic about this. Could I add one more to this?
Absolutely.
What about honorable?
Right. Or we're seeing a lot too with the Robin Williams things like he's now at peace. Or he's, you know, in the stars. There's all of those. We
Or
tend
acceptable.
to
Yeah,
exactly.
well, what
There's
do you
none
think
of
about
that. There's none of that. We see it a lot too with adolescents that romanticize it and things like
Yeah.
that. It's not. It's an ugly, awful, horrible thing. Not only for the person going through it, but for the people that are left behind by it. And so those are the kind of things that we don't want to perpetuate when we talk about it.
Okay.
They're actually, the conception is that they're actually not understanding what they're doing and that they're just trying to escape. What are you?
Trying to escape, a lot of they're in such horrible pain, and pain is a very good word, that despair, the hopelessness. It's not necessarily an escape, it's just want it to end. You know, when we're in physical pain as human beings, you want to avoid that. You want it to stop, you do what you can. People who are suicidal have such mental anguish that this is the only way they can see for that to ever end.
Well, one final note here on your list here is that they feel like maybe sometimes that it's the best thing for their family or their friends if I just checked out and if I weren't around anymore.
Right. You know, it's two sides of a coin. We see that support of the family and loving family as a protective factor. I could never do it because of my kids. It sometimes gets to a point then where people feel that they are so worthless and so hopeless that they're actually doing their family a service. And that's not correct.
Okay, so if somebody in your family, somebody that you know, a friend, a close loved one, or yourself, if you're feeling suicidal or you know somebody who is, what should you do?
There are suicide hotlines, national suicide hotlines. Go to your primary care doctor. You can call our clinic, any of the other psychiatric
There's
clinics.
the contact information for Inspired Life Wellness. Well, like you said, Kristen, communicate.
Say something
Say
to
something.
somebody,
Yeah.
anybody.
Right, because
right.
that's not going to make it worse.
No, it'll make it better.
It'll make it better.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much, Kristen.
Thank you both.
All right, coming up on North Dakota Today, we're going to show you some ways to save money while you do your back to school shopping. We'll be right back.